Hello, contractors, and welcome to Toolbox for the Trades. My name is Jackie Aubel, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Amanda Salvatore. Amanda, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking.
Of course. So for folks who don't know, Amanda is the incredible host of another ServiceTitan podcast called Pest in Class. And as of today, she is joining Toolbox for the Trades as an official co-host.
Well, I'm very happy to be here.
And I am so excited to have you here. Amanda is going to be interviewing contractors who specialize in landscaping and commercial cleaning, essentially contractors who use one of ServiceTitan's other software solutions, Aspire. Amanda has done such a great job over at Pest in Class that I know you're going to love hearing her on Toolbox for the Trades. Just like the hundreds of interviews you've heard on this show before, she'll get into the nitty-gritty details of what it takes to be a contracting professional and get tips from industry experts on how they grow and streamline their businesses. Amanda, this first episode you're doing is with John Gohl. Is that right?
Yes, my first guest is John Gohl. He is the Director of Customer Experience here at Aspire and an incredible leader. If you're looking for big ideas, John is your guy.
Amazing. So what will listeners hear during your conversation with John?
Sure. We dive into successful leadership, the lessons he's taken from his mentor, and how he's bringing technology to the next generation. He's doing some incredible work with universities around the country.
That's so exciting. I cannot wait to listen.
Well, before we get to do that, I think your listeners, or rather our listeners, are all wondering, are you going anywhere?
Oh, no. I am shackled to ServiceTitan. Do not worry, friends. I'm not going anywhere. I'm still going to be a co-host here at Toolbox for the Trades. I'm just going to be sharing it with Amanda. So Amanda, how do you feel about me giving you the presentation reins for, say, the rest of the month of June?
It sounds like my work is cut out for me.
I think it is. So let's get into it. I hope you enjoy Amanda's conversation with John Gohl as much as I know I will.
John Gohl, you are the Director of Customer Experience here at Aspire, and today we will be discussing leading effectively through technology in the industry. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Amanda. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be good. I know you have so much experience, and anytime I talk with you, there's just so much value to the conversation. So I'm really excited to get into it. But first and foremost, we always like to start with an icebreaker. And I know you have some experience in professional cycling, and also today we're talking about technology. So what's a piece of cycling technology or equipment that you find particularly fascinating or impressive for professional cyclists?
There's so much technology in the cycling group. I'd say the wheel set. So these riders, right, if you're doing like an individual time trial or certain races, they might switch bikes. But let's just assume you're on the same bike all the time. It's the wheels that change. And the wheel set comprises of the wheel itself and then the tire around it. And, the wheel has to understand what are the conditions. Are they smooth? Are we on cobblestones? Is it rocky? There's a lot of things. So I understand, do I need something really durable? There's a balance of elegance and technology that go into the wheel set. And these things cost a fortune. Is it going to be wet conditions, dry conditions? What tire is going to hold up to that particular race? So that's where I would go to, is the wheel set. And that's what I'm doing now with my shoes.
I love that. I feel like this question is kind of leading us into the rest of our conversation today. Absolutely. I would love to know, what was your journey into this industry? You have a long history and a long career, so I would love to hear more about how you found yourself here at Aspire.
I grew up, Amanda, in the outdoors. My dad took us on a lot of hikes. In college and high school, I found myself, I was really big into paddling, long canoe trips from Minnesota up in Canada. Spent a lot of time on the water, a lot of time out in the wilderness. And so I knew I wanted to do something in that outdoors environment. Now, my parents, they were both artists. And my dad was a jack of all arts, but he was really a master of pottery, meaning he made things from the ground and with clay. And I had a deep appreciation for that. Thought, wow, I got to do something with the outdoors. I want to make something with the ground. And I got lost in college, I'll be honest. I had fascinating Spanish teachers growing up. And for those people listening, embrace that second language. It's the best thing you can do for the long haul. When I was fascinated with Spanish and I got to school, into college, I was a Spanish major. I struggled. I was going to go into teaching, business. I was going to get these supply and demand graphs. Like, whoa. But I got into agriculture. A buddy of mine was into agriculture and cows got four stomachs. Okay, cool. I'm in. But learned so much about soil erosion, crops, animal science, etc. And I was at a local fish fry in St. Louis, Missouri at the American Legion. So my father was a hospice nurse at the Veterans Administration. So we always went to the American Legion, spent our time with the men and women at the Legion. And there happened to be a landscape company that was right across the street. And I started speaking Spanish to some of the people there. And next thing you know, I'm working there. That, I guess, is how I got there. But more importantly, I think, was I had the opportunity to travel to Mexico, Nicaragua, Guatemala. And next thing you know, I'm recruiting 180 people on H-2B visas to work in our landscape company. Once I got down there, I didn't realize it was just 180 people. This was 180 teammates I was bringing up. It was the same team. And I had the opportunity to do so for 7 years. And it drew me deeper and deeper into the industry. And what I was so passionate about wasn't just helping my team get here, but taking those traits from my dad to create something from the ground and do the same thing that we do today. And that's whether it's design, caring for something, it all came together. And I never left.
What an incredible story. I love that you really found an opportunity to build a team and uplift people and really create something special. So how did you find yourself with Aspire?
Well, I did what a lot of people do and maybe wouldn't do again. And that's I fell in love. I met this beautiful woman out in San Diego. She said, hey, do you want me to come to St. Louis or you go to San Diego? I said, hey, I'm going to give San Diego a shot. I can always come back. Decided to head out west. And what was so cool, Amanda, was the guy I was working for, we had built a software platform that we were using. I call it a video game. And I think I had high score in the video game at the time and decided to move out and get into this industry and just help people learn what I learned using such a platform in terms of how it could transform the business. And that's what I did. And that's how I ended up on this side of the fence.
So I know you have a long history with Aspire, and I know that Mark Tipton and Kevin Kehoe were leaders at the helm with Aspire. And I know that you learned so much from Kevin Kehoe, especially about leadership and mentorship. And when we've spoken previously, you speak of him so highly and that he's affected your life with a great impact. So I would love to know about his leadership and his mentorship and how it's influenced your approach.
Yeah, for sure. But before I talk about Kevin, let me just say a couple things about Mark. So when Mark was building the platform that we were under, I had the opportunity to interact with him quite frequently. Like, why isn't there a button here? Why doesn't the software do this here and there? And we had great dialogue. And I want you to know and understand, he was the person that believed in me from the beginning to say, hey, come aboard. Let's go places. But when I look back on Kevin, like at first I was like shocked, like, holy smokes, Kevin Kehoe is coming on board. Like this was the number one consultant in the industry. Everyone knew Kevin Kehoe. But when I got to know Kevin a little bit more, he was racing bicycles, motorcycles, always out there on the edge. And when I talk about skinny branches, it's about living your life and not clinging to the trunk. If you cling to the trunk, you're going to miss the whole purpose of why we're all here. You got to get on the skinny branches. That's where the action is. Sometimes they snap, sometimes they break. But this guy, he was never a landscaper. He wasn't like one of the people that are listening to this podcast. He was in Washington, D.C., supposed to give some consulting class or talk on some other topic. It got canceled, and now he's in front of landscapers. And he found out, like, these are real folks. They're all, in my mind, they're like urban farmers. They share information with each other. They help each other. We're all in this together, just like a farmer is. We want the whole town or the whole county, the whole state to have a successful crop. And he saw that and thought like, wow, this is where I belong. One of the things that stand out was, besides the motorcycles and the racing and the crazy things he was doing, he said, hey, John Gohl, I've never gotten into technology, never been a part of this. Really, I hadn't either, right? I'd been with the company for a little bit. But he said, we're going to surf, work hard, and make rock and roll. Instantly, I was attached. Kevin had a mission, and I think Mark aligned with it very well, and that was that we're going to change this industry. We're going to revolutionize it. We're going to bring something that nobody's had before to arm themselves and become better, become greater, and accomplish the ultimate outstanding. And I think that's what got me on board and where he led me best.
It sounds like he's really just left such an incredible impression on you. I know that you talked about skinny branches, but is there any other lessons that you implement throughout your day that you've learned from him?
I think for anybody here that might be watching or listening, it's really looking at yourself in the mirror. I don't think people do that enough. I don't think they understand who they really are today. And I don't think they dream enough. I don't think they can forecast or see who they want to become. You've got to have that vision. You got to start that. I'm going to walk across this Grand Canyon. I've had 4 knee surgeries. I was pretty much handicapped 10 years ago, walking with a cane, but I'm going to do it. I know who I am and who I'm going to be. When you think about who you want to become, it's so important to vocalize that and let people know. I learned so much just over this past weekend about better ways to train, how to recover, different things you have to do. And if you don't vocalize it and get that word out there about this is what I'm going to do, you're never going to achieve it. People want to help each other. I mean, it's like an unknown. I don't know why, but people want to help each other. And the more you express about your goals or who you want to become, the more people are going to help or know somebody. And it sets off like a chain reaction. So it's not just you getting there, it's everybody behind you.
I love this. I took a leadership course a few years back, and that was a huge, huge factor, was letting people know what you were looking for, what your goals were. And it was the same. People do want to help. Sometimes you keep your cards kind of close to your chest and you worry about that no one's going to want to help me. But in fact, it's actually the opposite. So I'm so glad that you found that as well. It seems very universal. I'd love to talk a little bit about what your new mission is about bringing Aspire and technology to the next generation. What is your mission and how are you going about it?
So my mission was assigned to me from Gohl. I've been on Aspire almost 11 years. We're members of the National Association of Landscape Professionals. And every year they host the National Collegiate Landscape Competition. A few of us went out there about a decade ago and thought, wow, this would be cool. How do we get Aspire into this circle of opportunity? Because that's really what it's all about. It's creating opportunity for students. So our mission has been to get Aspire into the classroom at universities. That mission, I'd like to think we're accomplishing, but now we're going to high schools. And the purpose of it is, and I said this earlier on your show, Amanda, was I think of it as just a video game. When you think about students, when you think about young people in these devices, they get them faster than anybody can, right? And so we wanted to put the program into the classroom, allow students to understand how to leverage it, how to use it, how do companies estimate, how do they schedule, what are like the functions that are necessary to perform within an organization and get that into their hands. And that's exactly what we've done. So we've been offering a fully loaded instance of Aspire to universities. And then we partner them with a client to not just share like how they use Aspire, but kind of the same conversation we're having. How did you get here? What was your flight path? Help them understand that whether you're going to work at a landscape company or it may be a ServiceTitan company, where else could you go? There's so many different avenues. And a lot of it was not just to create excitement for the students about going into this industry, but really for their parents. Mom, Dad, I can go anywhere. And look at the kind of video game they had. It's real. This industry didn't have the respect. It didn't have anyone's attention years ago. And now it does. And now we want to get this technology into the hands of the youth, into the hands of the next generation, get them excited about it. And that's what we've been doing.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you did to get these students excited. What was that process like, introducing them to Aspire?
Yeah, it's so hard. So it's hard to get into any high school or university. The people that have been teaching it have been doing the same thing for 15, 20, and 30 years. Why would I change? It's hard to get a professor to change. They understand it, but they don't understand it. I had trouble getting professors to wake up and see the value of who we were and what we were doing. I decided I was going to come in through the back door and I was going to go to the students. I was going to get the students' attention. Myself, along with a fantastic team at Aspire, put together a learning management system. And this was actually designed for our users. So that if a company hired a new individual or someone within a company was moving to a new position, they could go through this LMS system, watch somebody or learn like the basics, why we're here, what's the purpose, what module are we talking about, watch somebody play the video game, take a quiz to make sure you understood it, and then actually allow them to play the game with some direction. I carved out what we thought was really necessary for a student to understand the operations in an organization. What was organizationally and mission focused important. With that, they get this digital certification that says, I know Aspire. I have the student certification, and it took off like wildfire. You saw students bringing teachers to us, teachers saying, my students are raving about it. What is it you're doing? How do we get into our program? What I'm so excited about is it's going to now be a college credit. So we've got schools like Brigham Young University already doing it, Colorado State University, Michigan State. I mean, these are heavy hitters getting behind this program. It's pretty exciting.
I love this mission. And I also, I have to say, getting a student excited, that's the hardest part of education, is getting a student excited. So I love that you went through this back door, getting them excited and then to introduce their professors to it, as opposed to vice versa. I also have to say, I love referencing this as a video game. I think it's a very approachable way of framing it, and I think it's a fun way of framing it. And when someone hears a video game, there is the idea that you're going to be learning it, you're going to be having fun. You can't really make a mistake. You're just playing. And when you're dealing with a system like this, it can feel really precious. But when you frame it in such a way, you're really making it fun and approachable. So I love that.
Yeah, really, this is just an opportunity to, it's like dad or mom, dad, teacher, professor, whoever, give me the keys. Aspire's offering me the keys to ignite my future. They're giving me the keys to the ignition. Why do all the other schools have these keys? We want that same set of keys because what we've learned from our clients, we have several partners, part of the Aspire Professional Services group, and we've got some partners that are headhunters. Their portfolio is primarily constructed it's primarily Aspire users. And Aspire companies want to hire Aspire users. So why not create Aspire users straight out of school and help them become more attractive to our clients? We've got over 2,000 clients out there. Let's do our role as industry supporters and create that next generation of industry people. And let's start with the students and let's give them the keys to jumpstart their career.
I have to ask, and you kind of went into this a little bit, but I would love to know, how do you hope your efforts will affect the industry as a whole?
Well, we're able to measure the number of students. We're able to create a voice, and this voice isn't for Aspire. This is a voice for our clients. It's a voice for our industry that aspires out here to help not just our clients, but the next generation.
That's an excellent mission. John Gohl, this has been such a great conversation. But before you go, is there anything you wished we covered today?
If there's one thing more that I'd like to touch on again, one more time for the listening audience, is I challenge each and every one of you to step out onto those skinny branches, break away from the trunk, take a good look at yourself, climb, understand who you want to be, and step out there and let the world know. Feel the wind in your face and vocalize it. Get people behind you to support your mission and achieve something you never thought you could accomplish. And just understand, you're never going to walk at this alone, but you will walk on and you will walk together.
John, thank you so much again for coming onto the podcast. Great conversation.
Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, of course.